All right, welcome back. So we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at a slew of altcoins. Probably try to take some requests towards the end. I got a little bit of time for you this morning. So I'm going to be looking at Ethereum, Quant, Zilliqa, Waves, Cardano, and Theta. Those are the ones that at least I was going to look at anyways, and then a couple of requests for. So anything else along the way, I'll take some pit stops here. But let's take a look at Bitcoin because we had been watching this range now for several weeks, since about June 5th. We've been traveling in this range that we were in, right? We're not in it anymore. In our range low and our range high, about 45,000, our point of control, all the key levels in between. And we basically sifted through this area for several weeks. Excuse the noise outside. They're constructing something outside my window. So from here, we were looking for this range high to conclusively be broken, held above its support. Obviously, we've gotten that. We broke above pretty much right before the weekend, which was interesting. And all weekend long, we basically just hovered above this, almost as if we were waiting for the CME market to open before we got that actual move up. Speaking of the CME, we did not wait till the CME opened, actually. And we'll go back to this here in a second. But there is a pretty massive gap that I haven't really seen too many people paying attention to. So that's interesting. I don't know if they're choosing to ignore it, so to speak. But there's a pretty big gap, right? It's about $1,000. As far as percentage-wise, if we went down and filled it, I mean, nothing crazy. Granted, a 7 or 8% move in Bitcoin obviously would translate to probably about a 15 to 20% drop in the alts, especially since they've been running so well. So just do be aware if we do start coming down to fill this. Also, we've got the weekly pivot for the CME futures down here at about 43,500. We're going to talk about this little area here. There's a lot of confluence around here as well. And if we start getting a pullback, maybe this is an area where you want to be paying attention for. But we may not get that quite yet, right? So taking a look here, a couple things we want to go over. On Twitter, I'm getting super ahead of myself. Haven't been live in a few days here. I was literally just waiting on this range to break. I mean, I feel like I've been talking about the same range for weeks at this point. So I'm pretty excited to actually have something different to talk about here. So we had our targets to the upside. One of them being this yearly key level, right, which we basically straight shot right to. This is where we knew we'd have a little bit of our next resistance from. Obviously, we've had it for the last few days so far, about 48 hours, I guess. So I'm going to clear off this range here because essentially this is kind of old news at this point, right? So granted, if we start re-entering into here, then yeah, we'll have to start considering it. Do have the monthly open back down here for March. Granted, that's going to change here in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn all these off. Kind of clean this up a bit. Right. Doing it the really hard way. So I just going to my object tree. Okay, so I'm going to leave this range high here. So this is the previous range high. So I'll change that real quick so that you kind of have that idea. So if we're going to come back down and possibly, catch a retest around here, some ifs, right? I mean, RSI on a 4 hour is pretty overbought at this point. Granted, we can remain in this area. So the only thing I'm really looking for on this RSI in the short term here would be some bearish divergences. So don't necessarily see that quite yet. But if this price starts popping up higher, they'll probably start printing some bearish divergence here on the 4 hour time frame. So something to pay attention to there. We're pretty much just chilling right about 48K. Once again, previous range. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the volume here. Right, so now we got a nice little clean biddy. And from here, right, we were looking for the next range above us, right, to be entered. And we already had that main, yearly key level above us right there was our major target. We have, now this is the range that we're in, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and label this. So previous range high, right, broke that. This is our current weekly pivot that we left pretty much, I think we might have left it untapped. Maybe we hit it. I don't think we did. Yeah, we did not hit that weekly pivot quite yet. So generally we come back and tag that bad boy within the week or two. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's another reason why I'm looking at that too in that general region. Regardless, entered the next range, right? So this is our new stomping ground, so to speak. And ran it up to our yearly key level, okay? And from here, right, we do have a natural target of our point of control, right? The overall range is going to be, magnetized towards this point of control off and on. In the previous range, that point of control about 42K, you can notice that we spent a lot of time at 42K while we ranged between that area from January 5th, basically. So our next point of control is coming in about 49,000, which at this point is only $1,000 away. So whether we come up and tag it and get a pullback from there is the question. Our range high for this range is $50,256. So these are our major areas in the short term here. You do have the range low still coming back down here about 45.8. And if we do get a pullback, right, and this is saying that we might even see this run up to the point of control, maybe even to all the way to the range high before we get a decent pullback here. And essentially, we'd be doing nothing, right? Once again, these ranges, you oscillate between range low and range high. So far, we just ran it straight through. It's possible that we run it up to this range high before we actually get that pullback down here, right? So the real area I'd be looking for would be around this previous range high. This weekly pivot from this week currently is about 44,800. This would also fill the CME futures gap that we left from last weekend too. So a lot of confluence kind of coming in around here. I think that would really, it shouldn't shake anybody up, coming back down to where we couldn't get above beforehand. The only thing would be is if we did come down here from 50K, right? If we rallied up another couple thousand, I think that would be a little unnerving for some. When in the end of the day, there'd be like an 11% pullback. So that's what I'd be looking for at the moment. Paying attention, right? Of course, seeing if we get rejection from here. Essentially, you could be looking at this. It's really not anything, in my opinion, right? Because you got really nothing of structure. I know that you could, just kind of start making this into a bear flag, ascending channel, something of that nature. But at the moment, to me, this is really nothing as far as structure goes. So far, it might even end up, kind of starting to put in a little pennant form, in the short term. But regardless, I wouldn't even pay attention to that personally. I won't be. So it's all about these levels right here for me at the moment. So right now we're holding the yearly key level. If we lose that, then, we're targeting the range low regardless. But from here, point of control is right above us. It's only $1,000 away. This point of control acts as a magnet, about 2.5% away from us. So I would imagine we may end up visiting that pretty soon, and possibly even the range high, right? We might just run it straight to 50K. This, would, one of these two would definitely be our next major resistances. And then unless we do fall back below this yearly key level, right? Start bumping our head right here, then you probably look down from there. So we may just range it out a little bit where we are for a little bit longer. Before we get that direction out of Bitcoin. In the meantime, the altcoins have been going crazy. One thing I did point out on Twitter Saturday, I think it was, maybe Friday. One thing I look for heavily is what's a bullish or bearish cross on the EMAs, not the SMAs. So the simple moving averages that a lot of people look at it as the golden cross and death cross, right? So I look for the bullish cross, bearish, which is essentially the same thing. Just on an EMA time moving average, which is a more weighted towards current price action. Man, I'm sorry, I got a dozen charts up here. It's one of them. Okay, regardless, I'll just pop this on fresh. But on a daily time frame, we were looking for this bullish cross to occur, right? Which this is a lagging indicator, so mind you. But granted, at this point, I think it's coming through pretty well. They're not even on here again. All right, I'm gonna throw them on real quick. Okay. So blue is the daily 20 MA, the red is the 55. These are the two that I look for these crosses. If you look back over the last year and a half, I mean, you can look back in all time pretty much, but the last 15 months we've had had our bearish cross up here in May of last year. We had our bullish cross, and this has led to like 80 to 120 day continuation in the trend, right? And granted, like I said, it is a lagging indicator. By the time it crosses, obviously you're down or up X amount by the time this occurs, so not the only thing you'll be looking for, but just a little bit of extra, yeah, it's an early morning here, extra, geez, you know what I'm saying, so gas in the tank, whatever you want to call it. All right, anyway, bearish cross, bullish cross, almost got a bearish cross here, basically just pumped right out of it. So to me, this is still pretty much a continuation right here. Got our bearish cross again right here in November, and then we just now came through and got a daily bullish cross here, which once again has led to, on average, just between this last 15 months is what I'm looking at least, 80 days to 120 days continuation in trend. So, we were running it back to 60K. Well, the longer we stay above this $47,000, that yearly key level, it's very likely. So, something to consider there. The only other thing about that is that at some point we're probably going to come back down and retest those EMAs. Right now they pretty much sit at about $43,000. So something to keep in mind. Granted, we can kind of see them run up a little bit longer. Back in July last year when we ran up from it, you can see that we pretty much came down and did just that, right? You kind of had this really large move, came back down, retested the EMAs, and then continue on from there, kind of just rode them up. So, just something of note, right? Nothing super guaranteed out there, but yeah, I just, I always find that interesting to see when they cross. Red Bull is needed for sure. God, what is the word I was trying to think of? When you have more blah, blah, blah. Confirmation. That's it. Confirmation. All right. So, overall here, right, just to kind of get us a little, this is the last thing I'll talk on Bitcoin. We're going to move to alts. Just to kind of, we got to pay attention to Biddy to understand what the altcoin market is capable of or going to, be enduring. So we do have Bitcoin coming into some major resistance, right? We've been sitting there for a minute, consolidating right under it. So to me, I think it's possible to see this point of control, maybe even the range high before we get that pullback. But once again, if we start closing below this yearly key level, then yeah, at that point I'd start looking down. Regardless, I think that this region right here makes a lot of sense. A bunch of reasons lining up with the CME futures gap, along with the weekly pivot right here that's untapped. We got our previous range high that we could come back and basically back test. Bunch of things that kind of just line up right there. I think everybody's really under the impression that 46K, which is like the bottom right here, right? 46K is that level to hold. When in my opinion, it's pretty much just the range. Well, I guess the range low is about 46K. But as long as we're not breaking back into the previous range and closing in there, which is about 44,400. Which obviously is where we could see where we kind of just basically came up every single time, right? Boom, 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 finally broke through. As long as we're not closing back below here in the short term, I think that we're in good shape. But I think everybody also is looking for a pullback right now. It just might not come until we get this point of control, at least, which not from here is like, once again, $1,000. So at this point, it's not a huge dip, 2.5% so far. But something to pay attention for. So that's the levels I'm looking for Bitcoin. You will notice this weekly NPOC up here. So this is a volume target, basically to the upside here. So this is the next range, essentially. Actually, this is the overall range from last year. So this is a really high time frame range right here that we basically re-entered at 39K. At the top of the range, about 64. The point of control, which is our natural target. Also, that this was not back tested, so this is a big one. About 57K. I think that aligns well with everybody's 0.702. We're going to come up there, tag that, and go into a bear market thing that many have in their mind. So there'll be something to pay attention to around that time for sure. But that is a major target up there, about $57,000. I would imagine that we're probably going to dance around this range for a hot minute, though, just kind of similar to what we did. Maybe not as long as what we did before, But, we might have a run up to the range high, back down, retest these lows, and then, kind of out we go here. So over the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, maybe we dance around in this area. So be paying attention for that regardless. All right, let's move on to alts. So that's pretty much Bitcoin, right? So this is our new range. Got your previous range high, weekly pivot, and CME futures gap all stacked down here. This is where I'd look for a pullback to. Range low, obviously one of the better entry ideas as well. And once again, when Bitcoin is pulling back to support, this is where you can also look around for the altcoins. When Bitcoin's pulling down to range lows, I go and scan all the altcoins to see which ones are coming down to range lows. And to me, those are the best entries. So regardless, right now, kind of in the middle of this new range here, with our point of control still above us, and the range high coming in here. So these are the levels I'd be watching for Bitcoin short term. Once again, we do have that CME futures gap, right? Basically, all the way down to 45K. Yeah, let's put it at the wick. Let's see here. This is the daily. I do go down to the 4 hour just to kind of get a little bit of a better idea, but that one would have put it at 45K, so maybe you can go off that. But this candle right here I'm going off of, so 44.8, not much difference either way. So 44.8 to 45K is where that CME gap is. Doesn't have to fill by any means. So just something to be aware of if you start getting a pullback, look around those areas. Man, CHR is ripping. So this is the thing I'm going to be looking for here in the next next day or so here, is that when a lot of these altcoins are running into range, just very similar to where CHR, for example, when Bitcoin is running into that $38,000 low back on the 14th, right? Hard to believe we were at 38K, just $10,000 difference just 2 weeks ago. But when Bitcoin was running into range low, we were looking for a lot of these alts coming into range lows as well, right? So big major levels of support. Well, a lot of these alts are starting to come up into these range highs, which, not that doesn't mean that they can't continue higher, but just I'm paying attention to Bitcoin too, right? Because if we start running it up towards that point of control, or even towards Bitcoin's range high, and we got all these altcoins reaching range highs as well, everything's kind of overrun for a bit, then we're probably going to be looking for a pullback at some point there. Obviously, we've been running up pretty hard for the last 7 days, but regardless, CHR has been a nice move, right? Q4 point of control, falling wedge right here, broke out, key level, retested, boom, 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 took over the monthly open, basically entered the next range, and onward and upward we go. Our point of control for this range was right here, so we basically ran it up, came back down, back tested that, and then we're taking up now to the next one. That was just a random coin I just kind of stumbled on right there, but taking a look at ETH, right? ETH has been blowing and going. ETH was a slow mover for the majority of that whole range when Bitcoin was going through there, right? So this was actually, ETH really didn't even come up and touch its range high ever since February 17th, so or the range low even. So it kind of really just was really tight in the middle here. We were looking for that range high and this yearly key level to get reclaimed basically, and same thing over the weekend, right? Just kind of like popped through on Friday, and ETH was probably the number one stable coin out there over the weekend. It held 3,100 the whole time. From here, right, we have it's already kind of on making its journey there. The only thing is, once again, kind of look for that pullback. We do have a weekly pivot now here for ETH back down at 3,100. That would be a pretty decent little, not that bad, I guess, 9%. Once again, so if Bitcoin pulls back, obviously the rest of the market will as well. We just don't know when we're going to get that, right? Could be today, could be end of the week, whatever. Regardless, we were looking to reclaim this yearly key level range high, and then we really didn't have much in our way until up here, right? You got our yearly open, quarterly key level, got golden pocket, and our December NPOC, which is a volume target. So this $350 level or area right here, really was for me the next stopping ground. And you can see that we're just kind of shooting straight to it. So depending on how we get there, at this point, I'm sure there's a couple of other levels in the meantime here, but there's really not much, right? There's probably like a daily we're running into. I just took off to kind of clean it up. But from here to this yearly open, it's a pretty smooth sail, so to speak. The only thing is, once again, a lot of these projects, everything's kind of coming up in an overbought territory. You could probably start making the case we're getting some bearish divergences popping up. So just do be aware of that. We've also been running pretty hard for about since the 23rd with really no decent pullbacks, I guess, out of ETH. So something to be aware of there. But yeah, looking for a possible pullback, maybe even all the way back down to 31.40. I know that sounds, it shouldn't sound crazy. That's only 9%, but just when you're looking at the price of 34, 35, maybe it runs up all the way to 37 and gets at, that's something to be aware of there. But yeah, next targets over time here would be this yearly open, quarterly key level, and then our right at $4,000, of course, nice rounded number, would be that NPOC up here. One thing, which once again, just of note, I don't use it in your strategy however you want to, I guess, but ETH dominance, or I guess you could say ETH versus BTC. I'm gonna actually do ETH dominance because that's a different one there. Maybe I don't have it actually. Either way, ETH dominance was breaking out to the upside yesterday, so generally a pretty decent sign for altcoins. But like I said, alts and everything, the whole market in general can be trending higher now for the next few months, but you're still going to have to endure some of these pullbacks, which 10% out of Bitcoin is going to be substantial, right? So 20 or 30% out of the altcoins, especially some of these that have already rallied pretty hectically, like Waves, for example. Waves has been one of the greatest runs I've seen in quite some time, and in the Discord we've been talking about how just like on the funding rates, right? So you can go to this website, CoinGlass. I'm bouncing all over the place today, really. But you can go to funding rates, coinglass.com, Binance, OKX, Bybit. The Binance and Bybit are the two highest volume traded exchanges. I just flip through here and I see which ones are the highest longed coins and which ones are the highest shorted coins. And the base level for everything is about 0.01, so that's pretty much just pretty neutral. Once you start veering off, right, you start seeing everything in the green, that means the majority is short. And if it's in the red, majority long, I'm sorry. Waves comes in at number 3 at basically 13 times, if you're looking at it like that. It's just a funding rate, but almost 13x shorts compared to longs, right? If you're looking at it in that kind of sense. Doesn't necessarily mean that specifically, but I'm just saying, like, this is like the top 3 shorted coins still, and it's just been that way for weeks at this point, which means that the majority, that stand to get hurt are going short, right? So everybody's been trying to short this coin since probably even back here, right? And the other day we were looking for this pullback to the golden pocket. Comes back, tags that golden pocket, right? Kind of dances around this for the weekend and then just rockets right up. So this $52 level is actually the 1.618. You got the next couple of fib targets up here. 2618 comes in about $80. I have to imagine at some point we're probably going to get an actual pullback around here, but it's still one of the highest shorted coins. So just something to keep in mind. You had RSI punching 90 on the 4-hour. I think even on the daily, this had a pretty high RSI. Okay, even right now, you got 90 on the daily RSI. So just a total beast. And our original setup for this was the range low, right? When we got once again, I think it was back on the 14th. Oh, this was actually back in February. All right, yeah. So this is like last month when WW3 was breaking out. We were looking for this range low right here out of Waves, and we basically re-entered the range right here. Obviously we had a small range at the time, had your high, you basically broke through, back tested the range high, and then you had your yearly key level up here, which was our next target, yearly open in between. But for anybody that's holding Waves, and once again, this is something that even if you were just holding this from the high, this just broke into new all-time highs if I'm not mistaken. So pretty wild stuff. I think this was a 500% move from the range low overall. Yeah, 5x. So congrats to anybody holding Waves. But we've seen a lot of these moves again. Kind of across the board, where you got 100, 200, 300% movers, and it's not all like random small caps. You got Luna had a nice run. A bunch of other ones I just don't have on top of my head right now. Rune was another one that had a really good run as well. I think that's because of Luna also. But let's take a look at Rune, see how it's doing. Yep, just blowing and going, just straight up season for Rune. Didn't catch this one at the range low, but we were looking for this pullback. Golden Pocket was the entry for us. And then this yearly key level was actually my target. So 141%. But anybody else that's just holding still, I mean, you're up 200% now at a Rune, which is pretty decent, obviously. And I'm just pointing this out too because, once again, just kind of showing how there's a lot of big movers in the altcoin space, once again, as well as Bitcoin also. All right, totally off track here. Quant was one I wanted to look at. Because Quant, we were really waiting for that monthly key level, the 124 area, to get reclaimed for the continuation to the upside. Let's see here. We got just that. Q. So we had our range low, we had our point of control, our monthly open pretty much double stacked. And what we were looking for really was this monthly key level to get reclaimed here, because we had a ton of trouble trying to get through here. This was pretty much our signal for the upside. Came right through, totally held it, retested, ran it up from there, broke through the range high. And what you really want to look for is just kind of like breaking through all-time highs almost with this, or even like a breakout of like a falling wedge or anything like that. You tend to want to see that range high back tested as support. Yesterday, however, you can see it right here, kind of under the line. The weekly pivot generated right at the range high as well. So yesterday, when Bitcoin was kind of catching that little brief pullback there, we had a lot of coins basically pull back to their weekly pivot, or they pulled back and basically retested this range high. So from there, we got a nice little bounce out of Quant so far. And the next areas I'd be looking for, if we start re-entering this range again, then obviously we'd be looking down. That would be losing major support right here. But aside from that, over time, pretty much looking up to the yearly open, about 178, and our yearly key level at 210 would be the next areas for me for Quant. If we get over this daily level too, it might be a pretty quick ride back to that yearly key level. But yeah, those would be the levels I watch there. All right. For anybody that's interested, I do see this. For anybody who's interested in learning how I identify these ranges, point of control, key levels, any of the tools and resources I use here in my charts, I do have the leading crypto Discord server with Magic Internet Money. He and I run it together, and I just dragged that out of the way. If you're interested, all my altcoin setups are in here as well. You get daily Bitcoin analysis from him. We have 2 exclusive member-only market updates where we cover the entire market in depth, as well as the altcoins every Wednesday and Sunday night. Tuesday, tonight I guess we're gonna start holding some exchange classrooms. We have an order flow and open interest specialist that's holding classrooms on that as well. There's Academy here. It kind of goes through all of our tools and resources, at least showing you how to use and utilize the tools that we use every day, or at least be able to read the charts that we put out, understand some of the terminology. We've got a charts only section where everybody posts their charts in here, all kinds of things in here as well. So got a books area if you're interested in reading up on some of these. Magic pretty much put his entire book collection in here, which is pretty much worth its weight in gold there. So these are all downloadable books there. So if you're interested in learning that, once again, you do get access to all my altcoin setups, which generally I put a ton in here all throughout the day, updating them. Yesterday I put all the updates as we were kind of getting the pullbacks to support. So a lot of content that goes through here daily, if anybody's interested. If not, that's okay. You can still hang out with me here, and we'll continue moving. All right, so Quant, like we said, looking for that. Boom. Covered Quant, ETH, waves. Zilliqa, I just wanted to, I got a lot of requests for this one, just to kind of go over. I'll be honest, I didn't catch this one before it popped, but just kind of want to go over what it did, right? So you had your basically the range that we were in at the time. It was just hugging the point of control, and pretty much your range low is right here. So you're basically at the low essentially. Reclaims the point of control right here. It basically just runs it up from here. Breaks your range high. You had tons of not tons. You had a few quarterly key levels, and a couple of key levels just in general over top of you, and it pretty much just cuts through it like butter. And then what does it do? Pretty much runs it. At the time before this final move up to 12 cents, it basically ran it straight to the point of control of the range above it. So you got your current range right here that I didn't really mark out, but then you have the next range right above you, kind of like a little range inside of a range, and you ran it straight to that point of control. And then once again, your yearly key level. So this is a high time frame average of price, becomes a pretty big target area, especially when you're below it. So yeah, that's ZIL for that. I would imagine you're probably going to range around in this area for a bit, possibly pull back to this weekly pivot, maybe even this quarterly key level again. We are below the point of control right now for ZIL, so that doesn't tend to just mean sheer upside from here. So I would be looking for some pullback. You got probably a golden pocket around way down here, about 0.07. Your 786 comes in below the range low. So just probably not the best coin to get into at the moment. Granted, that could have been said about waves as well. So it just depends on your strategy, right? So the next target for me would be this next range high up here. And that's assuming that we break through and hold above this point of control right here, right? So you're looking for that point of control to be regained. Got your 12-month key level. And then basically your range high would be that next major target for me. Over time, it's obviously not going to happen over, say that too, and you might get one of these. But yeah, about 19 cents. So about another 100% move in the works over time here for ZIL. But do be aware we might get this pullback too. Let's see that RSI. Yep, pretty gassed, right? 95 on a 4-hour. I'm sure the daily was just as high. Aside from that, it just looks normal. So, I mean, this could totally turn around and keep going, depending on some, how strong the buyers come in for it. Just wanted to kind of cover that one because everybody was asking about that. But I did not catch this one. I will be honest. I didn't catch that one at the low. Chainlink and Crow. All right, I'll do Chainlink and Crow for you. Digibyte, I don't know. I know Crow and Link. I haven't dealt with Digibyte since like 2018. So I just don't know anything about it. I haven't looked at it personally. I'm sure it's I don't even think it's a small cap though. That's the only thing. That sometimes it doesn't matter, I guess, but let's see what Digibyte. Digibyte's kind of like a Shiba, like super high circulating supply, right? No, not terrible, I guess. It's half a billion. It's on CoinMarketCap, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I haven't looked at Digibyte in a while. Sorry. What was the ones we were just going to look at here? Is that coin? Is what coin? Crow. Crow is one I think. Okay, so I'm going to keep my order here. I'm going to do Theta, Crow, Link, Axie. All right, so someone was looking at Theta earlier saying it looks strong. Theta was coming into the range high earlier. Might have already kind of punched through. Okay, so Theta, right? Range low from the 15th, right? Point of control, flips, boom, runs it up. Monthly open was our next target. Obviously, we ran it basically straight up to there. A little pullback, flips that. We do have a weekly pivot back down here that didn't get back tested for Theta, and this is for this week. So do be aware of that. But that would probably imply that we're going to get to get a 20% drop out of Theta, kind of out of nowhere. You would imagine that the rest of the market's probably getting that Bitcoin pullback. So this would be my area to look for if we get a pullback out of Bitcoin, just in general in the market. I mean, we are coming through and popping through the range high. It's just not. It's not been enough time here. And it's not just it's not really looking too strong in the short term that we're really conclusively breaking above this range. So if we do start coming back in here, I'd be looking for that pullback back down to this monthly open. And same deal, right? We're starting to get some possible bearish divergence printing up when you got the price action printing higher highs, but you got the RSI printing lower highs. Not that it's done yet. Obviously, they're still running up a little bit. But yeah, I would imagine that some of these run into the range highs might get a pullback. So data, Crow. Obviously, if Bitcoin pulls back too, the whole market's coming down with it. So, which compared to where we were a week ago, where we could go back to, is not going to be, the worst. Crow. This one we did when Bitcoin was coming to the range low, I scanned all the altcoins and put them in the updates in the Discord server for pretty much all the blue chips for sure. You're talking like Solana, Crow, Link, Litecoin. I mean, all the top ones there as we were coming into these range lows. From there, we were looking towards the point of control, reclaim that. Our monthly open was our next target. Had a monthly key level, and over time, because once again, this has been about 2 weeks, right? This is the 15th, so even from there to now, about 2 weeks of time to get to this range high. So far, appears, right? We kind of busted through, come back down, and possibly retested this range high. Do note we got that weekly pivot back down here, which doesn't necessarily have to feel. This is just if we start getting pullbacks out of Bitcoin and this and that. These pivots for a lot of these altcoins is where I'd be looking for from the weekly. Especially when they line up pretty well with the monthly key levels, things like that. So, but yeah, so range high, next level for Crow, I'd be looking for would be about 53 cents to the upside, assuming we don't break back into this range. And Link was one we were looking at the other night on Debate Crypto from my man Cheese, or my lady Cheese. I don't know if they were a man or woman. Pretty similar situation, right? Did come down to the range low back here in February. Did not revisit it on the recent drop. Held this 2-week level right here. We were looking for this point of control, monthly open to get flipped. You got these possible Adam and Eve double bottoms popping up on every single, not every altcoin, but a good majority, kind of insinuating that we were bottoming out. But yeah, from here, looking to flip these levels regardless. Took those and basically looking up at this point, we have a daily, a weekly, our yearly open and monthly key level would be my next two major areas to kind of look for. We got this pivot here, about $16. And then overall, we'd be ultimately looking to challenge into this range high at about $24, and you got a yearly key level at 28. So these would be where I'd be looking for over time with Link, right? This is once again, either Link takes it's so hard to say, that they would take a lot of time, because sometimes you do just get this one quick move, something like Zill, but Link is a pretty decent just grinder, right? So slow mover, but over time, that's a pretty decent move overall. If you did look at that point of control as an entry, that'd be about an 85% move to the yearly key level, 60 to the range high. Obviously from where we are now, still 30-40% moves. And then if you're holding, of course, they just obviously these would be areas where more than likely we'll get a pretty decent rejection from as well short term. So use that for your in your strategy for however that you see fit. My watch list is long. Yeah, no, it's like 300 coins. I feel like I've built a chart for everything. Yeah, what was the next one? Axie. Axie. Good old 69. Good old 69. Is this Axie? AXS? Am I tripping? Man, I don't know why I'm tripping on this. Is this? Okay, that is actually all right. Jeez, I don't know why that didn't seem like that was the ticker. Okay, so yeah, same, you know, pretty similar situation with Axie that we saw in a lot of other altcoins, right? This possible double bottom, right? You got the Adam and Eve little scooper here, which, you know, I try to line up with our levels as well, just to kind of give some confluence. As you can see, right, if you had a measured move of that, pretty much ran it up to that measured move for this double bottom here. At the same time, you had your monthly open and your quarterly key level basically created the neckline of that. Above that, you had your range high, ran it up, got the pullback. So far, we look like we're, you know, possibly retesting and backtesting this range high to continue higher. If you start coming back in, granted, there is the pivot right here, right, $64. So we might dip a little bit back into this range, tag that pivot and take off. But yeah, from here I'd be looking up towards this yearly key level, $87. And that's just assuming we don't come back in and start closing back in this range. So that would be where I'd target here for the old Axie short term, which that's not really a good move, I guess. Not a huge move. Yeah, 20%. That's pretty decent. Oh, ADA. Did I not do ADA? I did not. ADA. I had just made a video. I'm going to try to make a couple updates today for TikTok videos, but I made an ADA video the other day. Maybe it was about a week ago at this point. ADA. So, same deal, right? I joke around. I call this the Goldfish Pattern because that's what it reminds me of. All right. So similar to what we just looked at, right? We had that measured move. We were looking for this 120 to kind of be the area we get a little rejection from and a pullback. Didn't necessarily make it all the way back to our point of control and didn't necessarily even make it to that 120. I think it stopped at 119, turned around from there, got the pullback just about. Now we're taking over this monthly key level here. We got the range high coming in about 125, and then our yearly open is 130. Mind you, weekly pivot, once again, 107. That would be a pretty drastic move, however. Not really. They look so much more drastic. So 12%, you know, is possible, I think, especially if Bitcoin gets that pullback. But once again, we could still see BIDI run it up to range high in the short term here too. These pivots don't need to fill. I'm just bringing these up because they're good areas to kind of look for, especially if they have been untapped. And we start getting pullbacks. So, but from now we're above, support. So now we're above resistance. Now that's support. Range high though is basically right above us. So that is our major resistance coming in. So now at this point, that's line in the sand, right? You want to see this range high broken, held above conclusively, meaning you got 4-hour candles closing at least. You know, to start paying attention. Daily candle close is your best friend, and then you got the yearly open right above that. So after that, I'll have to update this. So I'll update that and put it in the sheet today. Okay. What types of news causes reaction to crypto? So I'll tell you I pay zero attention to news. Zero. I couldn't tell you what's going on with anything. I couldn't tell you, even the world news that was going on. I mean, obviously I was aware of what, was going on for the most part, but I couldn't tell you what and when and where. And it really didn't affect, our group, so to speak. Oddly enough, like our group is so docile sometimes, it's crazy. We'll go even at 40, we've been waiting on this run up to 47.7, right? This for Bitcoin. All credit to Magic Internet Money, right? He's the other analyst in the group. But we've been waiting on this yearly key level for so long and talking on it and talking on how, 33,000 and, to 32, we didn't get our $32,000 level, but we had these, once again, all credit to Magic. Right, Christmas Eve. From Christmas Eve, Magic Internet Money was bringing up that we were going to probably come back down to these two levels right here. And Christmas Eve was about, this region when we were punching up to 52, getting really, this is exactly Christmas Eve, when everybody was really thinking we were getting this breakout back here. Magic was targeting these two areas right here, these weekly and monthly NPOCs, so major volume targets down here. This news, I guess, at the time, if you're gonna, this is my biggest thing about news. And once again, I don't follow, and nothing wrong with that. Obviously, people do it, and it works well for them. And if you can, I just don't have the time. So if you can, take kind of everything and formulate your own strategy based on a little bit of everything, then by all means, if whatever works for you. I just don't have the time personally to keep up with. Obviously, you just saw my watch list, right? So, but I do want to point out the news thing, and I'll do the. And by no means does anybody want to see a war or anything of that nature, but this pullback, right, initiated at $46,000. This was the what do you want to call it? Invasion, so to speak. Note that you still didn't even pull back to where we came down a month before, where once again 46,000 was the initial, and the low comes in just below that, and this was on a Fed meeting / an energy thing with Kazakhstan or something. I think I know there was at least a Fed meeting, and let's just say the energy thing was the other thing going around at that time. But the difference there is how much fear entered the market right here, because everybody at the time that this was going on, the world news and everything around you was so scary, that everybody's looking for 30, sub 30, back down to 13, whatever the case may be. It was a lot. So I mean, I think it's just too much to kind of wrap your, and it's reactive, the news, for the most part, right? Because you're talking when you get moves like this that come out, and when granted, essentially all we did was get rejected at the range high, put in a lower high, and then we just dumped to the range low essentially. This is a quick move, and at the time the news comes out at this exact, I will say the news is correlated time wise, it'll come out right there. But how are you going to actively use that to your strategy, right? If you're not already kind of in motion before some kind of news hits somewhere, you'll never be, you'll be behind all the time. And I guess correct me if I'm wrong in that aspect. But like I said, I'm not dogging on anything or anybody that looks to the news or uses the fundamentals. Obviously, that is a viable strategy. I just don't do it. But yeah, so what I was going to say with that was just, we've been waiting on this yearly key level for literally so long that it was almost like crickets in the Discord. I couldn't even believe that there was and the same thing here. When we dropped down to $33,000, I have to imagine the panic and everything that ensued everywhere else, and it was just like crickets. It was just, whether you could have acted on this, meaning whether you, took some money off the table or anything like that. Granted, if at this point it was kind of late, right? Because you're talking about holding, if you were holding all the way from the top, it's very hard to start selling at massive losses with the risk of it not going to these levels. But at least you were aware of it, right? At least you were aware of the why. So massive why around this area right here, and a massive why around this area, right? So, and all right, we'll get back out of that there. H bar is pumping. Let's take a look. So yeah, and in the Discord too, Magic covers his fib times. His fib times blow my mind. That was the number one reason, honestly, why I went and tried to get him to join us, because I saw from back here. From this area right here, right? He basically had stated that we would run it up towards this area and then basically come back down to 30K. And he was looking for that back here in September of last year. And obviously we did pretty much just that. And it's just, it's been a wild ride. We obviously update as we go, so it's not just like getting glued to one idea, of course, but there's some big dates coming up in the middle of summer and then towards the end of the year again. So it's going to be a fun year, I think, all around. Where were we going? Oh, H bar. H bar. That's hard. Damn, H bar is running. All right, just pump through the range high. All right, similar sitch, right? Basically, it was at the range low about 2 weeks ago. We were looking to that point of control, flipped that. We had our monthly open, which is also now our weekly pivot at the moment, which 4 hours. So we were on our way down to that pivot. We did not make it to it. And then we just took it out, right? Ran it to the range high. So for me, I'd be looking for this range high, about 26 cents, to be reclaimed and overtaken pretty heavily, meaning that you want to see 4 hours start closing above here and then, kind of transpiring into a daily at least. Because so far we've only seen wicks, right? Wicks. Even right now, the current price is actually right here, so we just wicked above. And then from there, we're looking at the yearly open at 29 and the yearly key level at 30 cents. And then I'm going to update this chart as well for the group. All right. What time is it? 9:40. Been on here for... Okay. About time here. Sushi. Are you talking about the 33K drop mark? Yeah, I mean there was a little bit of tears, but it was yeah, that was a wild day. Solana. I don't know why I chose this. Solana was one I think I made a TikTok on too, actually at the range low. So the day I made that is when I was also scanning for the other ones for the group. But we were looking for this range low to hold. You could have had your stop loss right below the low. Point of control obviously was our next target. We ran into this daily short term, pulled back. Monthly open was our next area. Range high obviously came in. And I think this actually adjusted. The range high was originally maybe like 109 or something like that, but it does adjust a little bit with volume as it comes in. It's kind of like a moving averages, right? So they do adjust over time. The next area I'd be looking for, granted, we're getting some bearish divs, right? Just to kind of be aware of it, and it's starting to come up on a lot of altcoins. But the monthly key level up here, 120 and 126 quarterly key would be the next ones for Sol for me. Get a pullback. I'd be looking back down to this monthly open range high, basically between here. It's $5 window, so $99 to 104. I'd be looking for a pullback, unless something drastic happens at a biddy. Sushi messed me up. Uh-oh. What happened with Sush? Sushi. I don't think I really added anything to this. This is just like a range low, monthly open, tag the pivot. Basically from here I'd be looking for the range high, about 560 be the next area, and then overall really targeting that yearly open about 950. Got a yearly key, so a lot of the major levels for sushi are above, and obviously because we fell pretty hard, so I'm assuming that's what you meant if you bought into it. And it's, back in November, everybody took a hit obviously in that regard, but yeah, for the rebound rally here, or the recovery, I'd be looking for 560. You got a yearly open would be the overall target, short term here, and then you got your yearly key level about $12. So sushi's a big cap though, so I mean this is one that like it would really have to be looking around and start seeing some of the other like Uniswap and some of the dexes, like they kind of pump in sectors almost. But yeah, aside from just anything else, I would be looking for this range high coming in about 560. Bought too high. And, like I said, end of the year last year was not the ideal situation. So, but coming out of it, turning around. People are starting to break even or get close to it. You can make some moves. You can transition out of things into things. So it's all about how you position yourself at this point, right? You just got to make it back. Trias, super simple chart at the moment. I probably could update this a little bit, but range low. Sorry, I'm getting frozen. Oh yeah, range low and point of control all the way down here. So we basically took that over. From there, I'm just looking up to the range high. Monthly opens giving us a little speed bump right now. Got a monthly key level. You might get this pullback down to 415 or 412, right? Since we're kind of pretty much there. Range high at 6. So I still have pretty decent hopes for Trias over time, and especially if we get to this end of the cycle time frame. Where Bitcoin and everything else is moving higher. Obviously, these higher risk coins. This is the thing, right? This is low cap, high risk. This is not where you want to put your whole portfolio. This is where you can take a little bit of money, risk it, and make a lot of money, possibly, right? So this is a possible 100x gem, if you will. But once again, all these low caps, just as we've seen, they go up fast and down faster, right? So. Just be cautious with that. This is something where, if you got $1,000, $100, and you want to roll the dice, possibly turn that into 10 grand, 100 grand, once again, on a possible, speculative blow off top situation, then that's something that you could kind of dabble in. Just, I wouldn't, don't go to put your whole portfolio into these things. This is like a supplement to increase your portfolio if you do get that win. There was another one. Platform is TradingView. Phantom. Somebody asked for something else. That was a good one a second ago. I can't remember what it was. Oh, just take a peek at Luna real quick, by the way. Luna's probably making new all-time highs right now. Load up. Okay. So, yeah, punching and wicking into new all-time highs at the moment. This previous all-time high is about 103. Just below that, we had our monthly range right here that we were kind of bouncing around for a bit. Did look to enter around here once again on the 18th, last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, whatever, when we hit that range low once again. So that's been a nice little 10 or 15% move. Right now, the weekly pivot does align well with the previous point of control. So just an area of interest if we start pulling back would be around here for me. But with these assets that break into price discovery, which I don't think anything's really done that except for Waves now. So Waves and Luna and Ocean, watch those three together. So Waves and Luna now has popped pretty hard. Ocean had a nice little pop for a minute. I'm going to actually update the Ocean's chart. I don't even know if there's any correlation between the three of them, but for whatever reason, can't have Waves without the Ocean, and you can't have, Waves without Luna, without the moon. I don't know. That was dumb. Anyways, looking for this to possibly, have a nice break and retest this previous high. From there, we'd be looking at some price discovery. So these would be the next areas. To me, these are fib extensions right here. So 130 being the 2618, I believe, 123, 117. So that's kind of the next short term that I'd be looking for Luna. Do be aware that Luna is up substantially already. So take that into consideration. Not that it can't go higher, but if you're looking to get into something new, I don't know. Depends on how you want to go. I don't love to get into stuff that's as far as your long-term hold, it's trades, yeah, all day long. But if you're looking to DCA into Luna at new all-time high, it could be a risk, right? So, but same thing was said about Solana at 40, right? So I mean, there's opportunity. It just depends. Once again, it really all comes down to you. So I mean, don't just take information off the internet for 2 seconds or for an hour in the morning and just run with it. Take some time and kind of think about what you want to do, get some other information, some other research. Phantom buy zone, right? This was the one we were looking for way before we had the news, right? So once again, kind of going off of a news idea. I know some guy stepped down or something, but we were looking for this pullback regardless, and did overshoot my little area by I think like 5-6%. But as you can see, we pretty much have turned around from here. So for Phantom, basically looking back up towards a monthly open, yearly key level again. This is our major area to kind of get back above. We've got a weekly, I think that's not accurate anymore, so I'll take that off. Yearly open comes in at 224. Another thing to consider, Phantom is up substantially from a year or two ago. So once again, something that's up like 150x. Compared to where it was a year ago. Not that that necessarily is the end all be all or means that it's it's just going to go to zero or anything like that, but just be aware of that, right? So, okay. All right. Well, hope that answered the Solana questions I just saw kind of popping up on there. But yeah, I mean, when something enters into, and it depends on the context around the rest of the market, right? So if Bitcoin's about to run it back, meaning, punch higher up toward, continue higher regardless. But when I say run it back, I mean go back to like 60K. And you have, that was Luna we were just talking about. So Solana, I did go over Solana as well. Getting confused on those two. But Luna is about to enter price discovery, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it can be still pretty, pretty big move from there, even, you know what I mean? So it just, once again, it's just up to you. I mean, buying Bitcoin at 60K is also, or 40K or 30K, you're also buying something that's up like 1,000,000%. So, I mean, it just depends on what your strategy is. ETH, same thing, is up like whatever percent. So anybody buying ETH at 3K, is still buying something that's up substantially. I just bring those things up because, once again, like Phantom, Solana, Quant, Matic, like some of those were the hardest ones hit, as things kind of came down. VeChain was another one. Some of the ones that ran the hardest obviously are going to fall the hardest. So just looking at ETH again, right, for anybody. I saw a couple people asking about that, but we're looking for the range high to break. We did it over the weekend, basically held above, ran it up with Bitcoin. From here, just depends on, if we're going to get a nice little BART pattern and just kind of shoot back down, tag this pivot, and then continue on. But over time, I'm looking for this yearly open, quarterly key level. This is also a golden pocket from the entire move down, and then the December NPOC, which is a volume target here. So if we start re-entering this range, however, then we're going to have to start looking down. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I would imagine that things will probably continue on the upward trajectory over the next couple of months. But you're always susceptible. We're always going to get the pullbacks. So even if we did get this, pretty, it looks like it'd be a steep one, be 9 or 10%. When realistically, from not even, this is a week ago, you're up 23, and then from 2 weeks ago, you're up 40%. So to get a 10% pullback around this area, it's definitely not out of the question. So, all right, hope you all enjoyed this update. I feel like we have some fun things coming our way. So it's nice to be able to talk about something different for the first time in a few weeks. That's all I got, everybody. Till next time, cheers.